Real quick, let's speak on this real quick. Sub-Zero TV. Ryan Garcia doesn't have a ceiling if he can lock in. Did anyone see Derrick James trying to control him in the corner?
I did.
In the last round.
did.
Yes. I went back and saw that.
That last round was beautiful though, bro. I had what's his name? Malik Scott. Malik Scott was sitting up there with us watching the fight, right? And I seen how Derrick James was, really just giving it to the kid before the last round. I walked over to Derrick James or to Malik Scott. I said, "That's how you coach." I said, "I don't know what you've been doing, but that's how you coach."
Dude.
No, we was kicking it. We good friends. Maybe we was kicking it, but I just thought that was masterful. Yeah. You know what I mean? He had the kid everything he needed round by round, and especially in the last round. He knew his fighter had to finish the fight, and he gave him everything he needed to finish.
Yeah, man, I wanted to discuss this with Derrick if he was going to be on. But,
he come back.
But, first let me
do it next week.
Do this because, last week I was talking about he hit a lull, which Emmanuel Stewart hit lulls. Lots of Freddie Roach hit lulls. It happens if you're a great trainer. You're going to hit a lull. But, man, Derrick James had nothing handed to him in boxing, really. I mean, well, he's had some stars come his way now based on the hard work he did building a fighter from scratch in Errol Spence.
But Derrick James built Derrick James.
Right. And to flash back to his career, a couple days before fight night, there was highlights of his fight with Joe Lipsy on Twitter, on YouTube. And I'm watching this fight, and Derrick is doing his thing, and I'm thinking, my God, the 90s were just brutal. Like, anybody in the top 15, 20 was a killer back then. It was just different. I mean, no disrespect to the era now.
No, you're right.
So Derrick's fighting in an era of killers, and he was only 9 or 10-0, and he's fighting Joe Lipsy, who was good enough, Antt, to fight Bernard Hopkins a year or two later.
Damn.
So he's fighting someone in his 9th or 10th, and this isn't the era now where Lomachenko's fighting someone for a title in the first 5. They weren't. You don't get fast-tracked back then. Yeah. And Derrick's dominating Joe Lipsy, drops him twice. Then he gets to the part of a fight, 7th, 8th round, that he probably seldom had seen because he's only in his 9th or 10th professional fight. And, man, he had the better of it up until that moment. And my heart went out to him a little bit because you're fighting in an era full of killers. They're matching you with a guy who's good enough to fight the best middleweight in the world a year or two later in Bernard Hopkins. And you were whooping him up until you got to a point of the fight where you probably had no experience. So after that, he took some more losses after that. But all you got to do is watch that fight to see the talent and execution Derrick had as a fighter. So, he gets fed to the wolves early as a pro. But then he gets his glory in as a trainer. And this is probably his brightest moment. He built Errol Spence from scratch to get a 3-division champ. He took Jermell Charlo, who was a pure boxer with Ronnie Shields before he got him, had like a 50% knockout ratio. Then he gets him to almost knock out everybody in every title fight he's in at junior middleweight. And now when everyone's counting him out for the maybe Derrick's a little dejected, maybe he's getting over the game and some of the BS that comes with it, and he summons out the most shocking performance I've covered, so.
What if this is not it? What if he does it again in 2 months?
Listen.
If he can bring Tank, I'm coming here and flip shit
if Frank gets Tank on his watch?
if Derrick James can beat Tank, you beat Tank Davis and Devin Haney in 60 days.
I refuse to believe he didn't have a little extra something heading into this fight. And I asked him that in Texas when Ryan had his media day. I said, come on, you're human. You gotta have a little something. And he's like, he's not having none of that. I don't care what y'all say. And I know he doesn't, but he's human. He had to have a little something extra to prove.